Okay. Hi, Susan.
Hi, how are you,
I'm
Sandra?
fine. Nice to see you again.
Yeah,
How was the holidays for you?
hectic but good.
I know, right? I
And
know.
then, the snow and the ice. But anyway, we got through all that. Hopefully, we won't have any more of
Yes,
that.
well, we can only hope for that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So today we have this session so we can go over your expulsion and
Oh,
policy,
okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you wanted to change a little bit of the verbiage,
Mm-hmm.
make it not so strict.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have this session today to go over it and like set a goal on what kind of changes you want to make to it.
Okay.
Okay. So I looked at it and I have a question for you. So
Mm-hmm.
how has this policy been working for you and your families?
Mm-hmm.
And another question would be, how many children have you expelled in the past couple of years?
Well, I think if it had been working perfectly, I wouldn't have asked to revise it, of course.
Yes, you're right about
Uh,
that.
I know that sometimes, even though we try to have it work like a pyramid, this happens and this happens and that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. So the families feel like they're kind of caught off guard, and their children are kind of pushed out without prior notice. I don't think it's really true, but that's how some families have felt.
I understand.
And as to your question of how many in the past 2 years, I think it's only been two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one last year and one this year.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about how these
Well, the
expulsions took
first
place.
one was, a lot of times the problems are more parental than they are child.
Yes.
And we had this one father that was just very abusive to the staff, and he did it more than once in front of the children.
Okay, yes.
So
and that is
was
here, actually.
unacceptable.
Yes.
So we had to ask them to leave, which was too bad because the problem, as I said, wasn't with the child; it was with the parent.
Yeah, that is too bad.
But it frightened the children,
Mm-hmm.
and they went home and told their parents, and so then
Oh,
then you have a bigger problem.
Sure.
That when it starts affecting not just the child and the parent, but it starts affecting the whole class, then you can't have that. And the second one was because of the child. He was having uncontrolled tantrums, and it got to the point where he was harming himself. And when he was big enough, so when the teacher would try to control him, even though he was like 4, he it was hard, and it could have harmed the teacher and the children that were around him.
Yes.
So we tried to address it with the parents, but they were resistant to getting help for him.
Well, that's too bad. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
So then we said, well, we just can't. Then he just isn't a good fit for our school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for letting me know. And I would like to mention that this part of the proactive actions, I found it very, very relevant and very thorough. That you guys go through all these processes, so parents are aware that it's not something that happens
Yes.
one day and the next day the kids are
Right.
out, but it's a process.
Because if it happens once, it happens to everybody once.
Sure. Yes.
So maybe we will record it for ourselves, but we're not going to pass it on to the parent, unless it becomes habitual. When it becomes habitual, then there's an underlying problem that's creating this behavior. I mean, the behavior is a symptom of something.
Yeah, it's the child trying to communicate.
Right,
something.
exactly.
Right,
So
exactly.
then the parents need to know, and they need to help us address the problem.
Right, and
Um,
also do at home whatever they have to do.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's why we give them written copies, and then well, we try. This is what this is. We try to redirect your child. Then once if it becomes habitual, then we're going to give the written report to the parents or schedule the conference, help, and then together we'll decide on an action.
Exactly.
Give them literature, help them with resources, suggest that they see a professional. And I know that ESD has a team that deals with this.
Yes, we do have the early intervention,
They're
0 to 3,
right.
but unfortunately, after they turn 4, they go to the school district. They have to go through the school district.
They go through the school district.
Yes.
Well, that's fine too.
Yes.
But I'm assuming it will probably take longer because the school district has its own children to take care of.
Yeah.
But it's my understanding that every school has a team, don't they? So.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do have a counselor and all that.
Right.
Yes.
And an intervention
yes.
team, I would assume, but I could be wrong. So so that's what we do, and I think this is one of the strengths of our.
I agree
We
with you.
We don't just say, oh, it happened today, so you're going to leave. No, that's not the way it is. We try to redirect. We try to why is this happening? Talk to the child. But when they're 3 or 4,
I know.
3 years old,
yes,
you can talk to them and they understand it that today, but they might not think about it tomorrow.
Yes, of
course. Or give the child, if they have a temper tantrum, give them a time to get control themselves.
Exactly.
Have a timeout place where they can sit and
self-regulate.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Yes, absolutely.
So
so I think this part is very good,
mm-hmm.
very detailed, like the proactive actions.
And the parents get one of these. So
yes,
they understand.
I'm hoping they read it, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. Even if you say take it home and read it and sign it and bring it back, they sometimes just skim it and then sign it and then are surprised when something like this happens, and it's right there in black and white. So.
I know. So maybe we could try work on the wording
mm-hmm.
so that they don't feel that it's something that happens, from like suddenly or
mm-hmm.
anything. You do have the steps here,
mm-hmm.
but I was looking at it and I don't really understand why like a child might not be expelled. I was thinking if we could remove this whole thing, the child
mm-hmm.
will not be expelled if a parent or guardian does this, or this,
mm-hmm.
because bottom line is if the child is not working in the program,
mm-hmm.
There's nothing the parent can.
Yes, the parent can then go to the licensing center and
he can file a complaint.
Yeah, file a complaint, and then then it would be we would enter into a negotiation using the licensing center as a.
Yeah, and I'm thinking if this happens already, the relationship there with the parent
already breaking down.
Exactly.
So, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, my suggestion, and then...
okay, I can think about that.
Okay. And then... let's see here. The parental actions for child's expulsion, as far as the immunization goes, what I've seen more often is that children are not expelled, but they're suspended until they present the record.
Yeah. Oh,
so it's just like a rewording here.
We just ask them, please get it, but they can't attend school because you're putting the other children at risk, especially if you have some kind of a outbreak of measles or mumps or something like that, and they're not vaccinated.
Exactly.
Yeah. And besides, if they go to public school, they're going to be asked for these.
And that's what happens. They can't go to school until
right.
they do show their records. And then again here on the child's actions for expulsion, there were like two things, like the uncontrollable tantrums and angry outbursts, and the excessive biting. I don't know, Susan, but these to me look like developmentally stages that children go through, behaviors that they go through, and they outgrow these behaviors.
Hopefully,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Obviously 2 and 3 year olds are more prone to temper tantrums, especially if they do it at home and they get away with it, and they get what they want
Right.
by throwing the tantrum. They think that they can do the same thing at school.
Oh, absolutely.
So it takes a while, and we understand that, and it takes a while to kind of break some of that habit at school. I don't know what happens at home, but we try to
Yes.
break. Obviously,
Yes.
it doesn't. It can't work at school because it's
Yeah.
too disruptive.
Yeah, and plus safety
Right.
comes
For their
comes
safety, theirs and staff and the other children.
Yes.
And the biting too, obviously. Children are going to bite. It's when, I think the word excessive biting, in the sense that, once it's not developmentally appropriate, or even if you get a child where a young child that bites, but it bites all the time as a way for attention or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that has to be addressed, and that's why we have the proactive actions.
Sure. Yes.
And so that the first of all, the parents need to be made aware of it. Although,
definitely.
Obviously,
yes.
Sometimes they do it at home. Sometimes they don't.
I know.
Sometimes
it's
they're at school, at school they feel insecure or something like that. So that's the way they're reacting. So the parents need to be made aware, and together we need to work out a solution.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. But if it continues, the parents do nothing, and it continues, and the children, and it becomes, habitual, then
yes, I
there's
understand.
nothing.
Yes, I totally agree with
really
you.
We can do then.
Yeah, I know.
But I agree.
So would you feel comfortable if we change a little bit the wording here?
Verbiage there.
Yeah,
yes.
the verbiage exactly.
So the parents, it would be less threatening to the parents.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's at this point, I think this is what we're going for.
Right.
Something less threatening, and that they feel more comfortable, and that they that it's not something that's going to happen immediately. So in terms of this is going to go like we're setting a goal to make these little changes on the expulsion policy, and we're going to fit it into like the SMARTY goal.
Okay.
So remember the SMARTY goal is the acronym of specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, inclusive, and equitable.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as specific, we could just change verbiage and
remove that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. You're comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. And measurable. So how long? How do you think we could see that
see the results?
Yeah.
That's a good one, because we only enforce this if the child
something happens. Yes.
But we could, take notes and monitor it ourselves. I suppose that's the only way you can measure if it's going to, work or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also maybe like checking with the parents.
Exactly.
Get some feedback from them, how they're feeling about these changes and all that.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. I hadn't thought about that.
Right. And as far